everyone. My name is Mike. This is Dominic, and this is JJ. And I would like to be honest with everybody here tonight and admit something, that is, I have a problem. I have no idea what I spent my money on last month. I got 2 paychecks and it just kind of disappeared. I remember going to McDonald's a few too many times, standing in line at Target a couple times. I paid my rent. But other than that, my money just kind of disappears. The little things add up and it goes quickly. And this is a problem that many Americans have. Millions and millions of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. They don't have a proper savings account or even heard of an emergency fund. But this is where we have come in to.
Does that make you feel more comfortable now?
Yes. So can everybody hear me?
Back there, I don't know.
Okay. So a lot of people have these problems, and this is what we're trying to address with our money management application. It's going to make lives for people easier, so they can kind of keep track of what they do and know where their money is going. And I'm going to like to pass this off to Dominic to explain.
Good evening, my name is Dominic. I talk pretty loud, so I don't know if you guys need the microphone or not. So I'm going to go over the application today with you guys, a little bit of a visual run-through of how the application works, what kind of things to expect of the application, and how it can help you out a little bit. So basically what this application does is it stores and backs up your receipts in an orderly fashion, stores them in certain categories. Those categories are based off stores, date and time, the type of purchase. It tracks your spending habits and it sets the limits. You can set budgets for certain categories, and it'll track that, alert you when you're overspending in that category. It gives you a graphical representation of certain trends, where you're spending your money, how it's being spent, how much you're spending on certain items. And it's really just going to help you guys save overall in the long run, because you'll see where you're spending most of your money, and you'll find out ways how to save. So this is how it works right now. Currently this is DCU's app. This is their main screen right here. And as you can see, there's one added feature in it. It's called Money Management. So right at the bottom, you click on that, and it's going to bring up the sub-menu. It's going to have 5 different options. One, input your purchase. Second one is to set your budgets. Third one is for trends. It also has a history, so you can go back and you can look at the information. And the last one is reports button, which allows you to build reports and export the data. So on the next screen, if you do the import purchase, it's going to come with 3 different options. First option is if you have a receipt. The second option, if you don't have a receipt. And the last option is for bills, so you can input your bills. So this is just, if you picked receipt, it would pop up on your camera. You would go there, take a picture of the receipt. Once it takes a picture, it'll store that picture on your phone, the memory. And then it's going to move on for you to input your purchase. You'll input the name of the store, or wherever you bought it. If it's, if it was a bill, it'll be wherever the bill's for. You select the categories. It's going to have pre-designated categories, a couple categories to start you off, but I'll explain later how you can add new categories. You input the total expense, and you pick the date or time. It might have the current date or time, but you can select that field. You can choose any date or time that you had the purchase. So this is if you have bills, basically like inputting a receipt. Put the business name, what type of bill it is, your car insurance, cable bill, your rent, total expense. And instead of putting a date, you put a date range for that billing period. So if it was a monthly bill, you just put the month in there. And next is setting up budgets. So you can set up different budgets. Like I said, there'll be some predetermined categories already in there, but you can add to your budget. So if you want to add, itemize certain things, coffee, pizza, instead of just doing food and drinks, you can definitely do that. You can set spending limits. You can change them by month or weekly spending limits. And this will track how much you spent, how much you have to go. And if you overspend, that's all the red is your overspending. That means you spend too much, so you need to change your habits a little bit. And when you add a budget here, it's going to add this category here. So they're auto-populate. So it already have them pre-stored in there. And next is trends. Trends is basically like a graphical representation of the data of your spending habits. So we'll have certain graphs that show where you spend your money, and you'll be able to see, you know, this guy here spent $100 on groceries. So it looks like the most of his money is going towards groceries. Shows where you're spending in a graphical representation. If you do like a monthly period, it'll give you a total monthly budget, let you know how far you've spent towards that budget. So this is 82% towards your budget. It'll give you the days for the next cycle, so you know that you only have 5 days left to spend the rest of your money. If you don't, then that's money saved. Next is a history in the file section where it's going to store all your data. It'll have categorized by date, business name, or by the type of purchase. So this representation is the business name. So it's going to have a list of businesses that you've shopped at. It'll have the total amount of entries at each business. You can select that business, which will bring up a ledger. This ledger will show the transactions, what you purchased, the date, and it has a receipt. So if you didn't have a receipt, it would be in black. If you had one, you can select a yes, and it's going to bring up an image of that receipt. So you can go back to that receipt, make sure you were charged properly for your purchases in your checking account. Reports, you can make certain reports that will aggregate the data, so you can go and send that out and you can collect it. You can choose a report by date, by the business, maybe by purchases. Then you can do subcategories, receipts, no receipts, or bills. And then what type of report? You want Excel, you want it on a PDF, Word document. And the last one is a DCU Financial Advisor. This will be a custom report that you can bring to DCU Financial Advising, and they'll be able to look at this report and look at what you're spending and make recommendations. And then this just shows when you go to export it, you put a date range in there if you select a date. Comes with 2 files. One's an Excel spreadsheet. The other one is a zip file. That'll have all your the images of receipts, so you can store those, which is great for doing end of the year taxes. If you want to itemize your tax returns, you need your receipts. You get the report. You see how much you spent. You see where you spent it. You get the copies of the receipts, and then you can export it to your email. A DCU online account. If DCU might be able to implement a cloud service where they store this information on cloud, so it'll automatically upload. Say if you were inputting a receipt and you have internet access, store it on your phone and then sync to your cloud. You can use external memory on your phone or a USB hookup to your computer. And I want to hand it over now to JJ. He's going to just explain how this will help DCU members and help them save money.
As Mike was saying earlier, awareness of your spending is one of the biggest problems in America. A lot of people don't have enough savings in their account if they ever run into a problem. You want to usually have at least like 6 months worth of bills in your account. A lot of people have pretty much nothing. Most have about 3 months saved. So it's kind of a big problem. So this app would be great. It would help you raise that awareness and kind of get everyone to have that, help them save a little better, because that's one of the biggest problems out there. As you say, it's going to help you keep you from overspending, because you're going to know what you're spending on, how much you're spending, how close you are to your budget, be able to set your budgets like with the amount of money you have. And over time, you're going to start to learn your trends and how to fix them and be able to save that extra money. As you said, we're going to have the receipts, going to all be saved, so you're going to be bring them up end of the year. Tax deductions is going to help you out there. If you have the proof, you'll be able to print them out, show them to them, and it's going to make that a lot easier at the end of the year when you'll be able to do that stuff, because everyone knows that's kind of a pain at the end of the year. And all this is going to help you with your future financial planning and help you save that extra money, hopefully get you on the right step. And that is it. Thank you very much.
Have you seen anything else like this in the market? You know, we've heard check.
I mean, they have financial planning services. The biggest one, I think, is Mint.com. It's a lot of the same ideas, but what they don't have, like I said, is that receipt tracking, which, you know, saves your receipts, which is a big plus. Because a lot of people don't, you get a thermal receipt, they're all thermal printed, and in a couple of days they can break down over time, they get hot, your receipt's destroyed. So this is really good to help, you know, end of the year, have your taxes, you have a visual copy of the receipt. So if you weren't charged properly for something, you go back, look at your receipt, you got proof that you bought it. Maybe even go to like a store, a retail store, you can pick up a receipt. Go into return policy, you always lose your receipts. You'll have it on your phone. I'm sure some retail stores would accept that, because all they really need is a transaction over to bring up the purchase. They wouldn't really need physical receipts. If you paid with like a debit card or credit card, you could prove that using the last 4 digits.
Have you, and this may be a because I'm old and I have bad eyesight, and maybe I have fat fingers. Some of the functionality that you talked about, do you think it's practical that people, that you want to get into that level of detail on a mobile device?
I mean,
Yeah, I know, they're getting like that.
I know like a lot of kids, like they don't track anything they're spending at all. And then like the older generation, you see them, sometimes they'll be like paying a check or a credit card, debit card. They'll take the time to write it out there, and they're gonna, have to do that all manually anyway. So if you're able to type it in, it'll do most of the calculation for you, so it would make that a lot easier. You would just have to double check over it, make sure you are typing the right numbers. I know a lot of typos. But if you just check over it, like you would check your paper written one at the end of the month, because you do the calculations, it would do that for you automatically. So if you just check and make sure that you are typing everything good, it's going to calculate everything for you, so everything else should work out pretty good, as long as you just double check everything you do.
I know they had, the other group was talking about that, automatic reading the receipt, inputting it. We kind of looked at that first, it was an idea, but we looked at like the cost analysis of programming that level of, programming into an app, and it really astronomically increased the price to actually make the app. We estimated to make a really well-polished app around $25,000. That's a conservative estimate in that. Something like this, where someone like database programming. But that reading feature, because that can be troublesome too, because all receipts are really programmed differently. They all different layouts. Even that could take the wrong amount, input the wrong amount.